Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. Well, not so instant match reaction. I've just gotten home from the London Stadium. Another trip down to London to watch Everton and another disappointing defeat to come home with. Not as bad this time, to be fair, not quite the 17-hour trip to get down to Spurs, and it's not quite 4 o'clock in the morning as it was when we got home from that game, but still quite a sizable journey. I think we left at 7 o'clock this morning, and I've literally just walked me through my front door about 10 minutes ago. So still a long, hard day, and a long, hard day to go and watch Everton absolutely throw another game of football down the drain. Another game of football that we absolutely could have got something out of. Do I agree with Frank Lampard's comments that we deserved something out of the game? I don't quite know about that one. Was it marginally better than some of the away performances that we've seen of recent? Yes. But is that a difficult feat? No, absolutely not. It couldn't have gotten much worse than Tottenham and Crystal Palace. And let's have it right, it wasn't good at all. I was listening to a couple of Blues on the way out of the stadium, and couple of Blues saying, we were much better, and you've got to look at the positives. And whilst I appreciate that in times like this, you do have to find the positives and try and, work from them and talk about them and highlight them. I simply can't come out of that game and think positively about it in any way, sense or form. I think West Ham were poor. And that will probably wind a lot of West Ham fans up, and there'll probably be a lot of West Ham fans who disagree with that, but let's be honest, they weren't very good. They didn't create an awful lot of opportunities. They didn't put an awful lot of pressure on Everton. But just because an opposition team is poor and doesn't put 4 or 5 past us doesn't automatically mean that Everton are somehow great, because we weren't. We really weren't great today. Yes, again, we attacked and we had periods where we looked a little bit more interested than what we have in recent weeks. Namely, we had a good half an hour today as opposed to just a good 15-20 minutes, which is a change. Obviously, when we conceded the second, we had a 10-15 minute spell where we actually were pushing and trying to get an equaliser and showing a bit of heart and fight until Michael Keane gets himself sent off, and then it was pretty much game over from that point, wasn't it? But again, are we really looking at sort of those things as real big positives? Are we looking at those things as the indication of what is a good Everton performance and a good game for Everton? Is the fact that we worked a bit hard in the first half and that we showed a slight reaction when we went 2-1 down? We weren't very good. Let's be honest, we had a couple of opportunities. We maybe had more opportunities than what we have in recent weeks. Dominic Calvert-Lewin hits the bar from another chance that he absolutely should score. And if Dominic Calvert-Lewin has got any aspiration of playing for a side that is anywhere near the top 5 or 6 in the Premier League, then he really, really needs to fix up on his finishing, because teams like Arsenal, Manchester United, whoever it may be, will not look twice at Dominic Calvert-Lewin with finishing like that, because they need somebody that's going to be able to score consistently, and Dom can't do that at the moment. Richarlison had a couple of opportunities that he should have done better with. But overall, we just weren't very good again. We weren't very good, and we can sit here all we like and try and pick positives and try and talk about improvements and this, that and the other, and where it went wrong and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's another game and it's another defeat, and we can't really sit here and talk about, well, this went well or this was good or this was the other. At this point in time, we just need points on the board. And a draw today would have been like 3 points. I was saying to some of the lads on the way there, I'll take a 0-0 win, a 2-2 win, and you might think, oh, that's cringy, but that's what it would have been today. If we'd have managed to get a point out of that game, it would have been like 3 points. It would have been like a win, because that's how important that was. But again, regardless of the fact that Michael Keane was sent off and Aaron Cresswell got away with a challenge that was the most blatant red card you've ever seen, regardless of the fact that we can see the silly goal again. We can see another set piece again. Regardless of the fact that we were slightly better than what we have been in recent weeks, which, as I've said before, isn't hard, and it's not a positive to sit here and say, well, we were better than we were against Palace and Tottenham, because we were absolutely embarrassing against Palace and Tottenham. We've still lost the game, and now we go into Wednesday's game against Burnley with expectation that is just beyond belief. And these players have shown time and time again that they cannot deal with expectation, they cannot deal with pressure, they cannot deal with being in situations where they have to get something out of it. That's why I was so surprised by the Newcastle result. I think I said it in the instant match reaction after Newcastle that when was the last time we actually won a must-win game? When was the last time we sat here and said, bloody hell, we really need to win today, and we went on and won? Wednesday for me is season defining. It's as simple as that. We cannot lose that game. I've seen some people say it's a must-win. It is a must-win in every sense of the imagination, but I think it's more a must not lose than a must-win. A win would be massive, and obviously we absolutely need to start winning games of football, and I understand that. But if we lose on Wednesday, which is very, very, very possible considering we haven't picked up an away point since December. We've picked up 6 points away from home all season. One against Leeds on the first away game of the season. Three against Brighton. One against Manchester United and one against Chelsea. So December, 4 months since we picked up a single point away from home. To say that we need to pick up at least a point away from home on Wednesday, and to say that is a worry would be an understatement. Because we simply cannot afford to lose this game, because not only will it be another game that has gone by without Everton winning, but it's a game that all of a sudden a team that are in and around us will pick 3 points up in, which would just be an absolute disaster. And it's the exact same for when we play Watford, whenever that game is rescheduled, probably the last week of the season, because the Premier League probably know that will be again another season definer. So we don't help ourselves in situations like this, and regardless of the result today, Wednesday was always going to be the more important game. But it just frustrates me so much when you watch a game like that today and you see some of the individual errors and some of the situations that we put ourselves in, and you just almost think we're doing it to ourselves. Like, West Ham weren't very good today. They weren't very good. A half-decent Premier League team would have given them a game and took something out of the game today. Maybe even 3 points, definitely a point, because they didn't have much going forward. Defensively, they weren't put under any pressure whatsoever. Craig Dawson won man of the match and was given man of the match in the stadium. I don't even remember him touching the fucking ball, to be honest with you. That's probably why they give him man of the match, ironically, because he never had to touch the ball. When you look at the forward line that we had playing, Damari Gray, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Anthony Gordon was put on the bench for this one, Avoidable there, and you think that forward line couldn't even give Kurt Zouma and Craig Dawson, who were a decent defensive partnership. And listen, West Ham are a very, very good team. They're in a very good position at the moment, but couldn't even give them something to think about. We're talking about a striker in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who last season was given some of the best centre-halves in the league, Virgil van Dijk, real serious problems, causing them real serious issues, in games of football. Ruben Diaz, as I said, Van Dijk. Now, Craig Dawson doesn't even have to worry about him, because there's just nothing there. And I feel slightly for Dom, because he's not getting the service. I really, really do. But I also think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is maybe not applying himself as much as he was at times last season. Maybe that's because he's just coming back from injury. Maybe it's something else. But again today was just very much of a sort of an Everton performance, if you like, wasn't it? We started relatively well. We started on the front foot. Again, as I said, it wasn't a great first half an hour in terms of we weren't creating a plethora of opportunities. We had the bar with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which was again a chance he should have taken. Richarlison had a couple that he should have taken, but we were moving the ball forward and we were well within the game. We were giving West Ham a game. They were pushing it forward. They had a couple of half chances as well. Jordan Pickford made a couple of saves. There was certainly periods in that first half an hour that were threatening, i.e. they must have gotten in behind John Joe Kenny and Vitaly Mykolenko about 323 times, and luckily enough, either the ball just ran out or they couldn't create anything from it. But the warning signs were there that our two fullbacks are defensively dreadful. Let's get it right. Listen, I'm not going to write Mykolenko off. I'm not going to sit here and say he'll never be a good enough player, because he's got a lot going on and he's still very, very young, but he's not very good defensively. Let's have it right. He's not very good defensively. And how John Joe Kenny is still playing football for Everton is absolutely beyond me, by the way. Absolutely beyond me. And I didn't say West Ham aren't a good side. I've just said West Ham are a very, very good side. I said they weren't good. They weren't great today, because they weren't great today. But they did a very, very good side because of the position that they're in. But they weren't great today in the same ways that they weren't great when they played at Goodison early on in the season. But yeah, John Joe Kenny, I don't know how he's playing. He's got to be one of the worst players I've ever seen in an Everton shirt. He simply has it. For everything he gives and for his effort and for his desire as a footballer, he is just... he wouldn't look out of place playing with me in 7-a-side on a Wednesday night. And that's not just to sit there and say and be harsh for harsh sake, but I've just watched him for 90 minutes there, and he would not look out of place on a Wednesday night at goals in Everton with me. He's just so bang average. He's below bang average. If he was bang average, it would take it. And I know Lampard's come out and said, Nathan Patterson was due to start today and he would have made his Premier League debut, and we'd only picked up an ankle injury and we'll have to wait and see what that is, and it might be worse than first expected and this, that and the other. But I'm not taking much from that whatsoever, because Nathan Patterson has been fit and available for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, and John Joe Kenny and Seamus Coleman have still been getting in this team over him. So the fact that he's picked up an injury and he was going to start today makes no difference, because we've known how limited John Joe Kenny is for months now, for years now. And yet Nathan Patterson still hasn't been given an opportunity, and that's something that I will criticise Frank Lampard for, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, we're still within the game, within the opening half an hour. As I said, it wasn't, I'm not going to sit here and say we were amazing, we were this, we were that, we were the other, but we were in there, and then we give away a silly free kick, and all of a sudden we give away a silly free kick on the edge of the box. Aaron Cresswell steps up, and listen, I haven't watched it again. I haven't watched it again, but it's again from where I was sat, which was right behind the goal. It was a very, very, very good free kick. Very, very good free kick. He curls it in. Not much Jordan Pickford could do with it, and at that point it was almost like, well, what's the reaction going to be? Because in recent weeks we've very much seen that the reaction to us conceding, the reaction to us going 1-0 down, the reaction to us going behind has been very negative, very sort of drop your heads and this, that and the other, and walk around, and okay, if we're going to sit here and take positives, then yes, the reaction today was better than what the reaction has been in recent weeks. We come out in the second half, we got at them, we were trying to fight, we were trying to battle with them, we were moving the ball forward, we were certainly had a bit more belief about us. But again, Frank Lampard has come out today and questioned the character of these players. You've got the manager who is now coming out and saying things along the lines of, it's about the character. It's about whether these players can show the character. And we're sitting here now saying, well, today was better than what it's been in recent weeks. And the manager's coming out after the game and saying, I am less worried about personnel and more worried about the character of the group. This is the manager of these players, by the way. This isn't just an everyday Evertonian who is seeing them once a week. Seeing them once a week. And David, you're doing me fucking nothing, mate. See you later. Can make wild assumptions off of the basis of that. Not that fans do make wild assumptions, but you know what I mean. This is the manager of this football club. The manager who is managing these players week in, week out, day in, day out, is saying that he's worried about the character of the group in a relegation battle. Now, that isn't going to do the players any good, by the way. So I don't particularly, as much as I like to see a manager coming out and calling out players and the character and stuff, and that's what we need, I don't know whether it's particularly what we need in this current situation, i.e. a relegation battle in April, because the players will see that comment and the players will ultimately have a negative reaction to that comment. But it's right. He's right to question the character of the players. But okay, again, if we want to take positives, there was more. There was more of a reaction than there was against Crystal Palace. We were battling. We got forward. We got back in the game. Corner comes in, I think, or the cross comes in. Mason Allgate, balls falls to Mason Allgate. He takes a shot from what looked like where I was sat. It took about 73,000 deflections. It curls into the bottom corner, and it's 1-1. And you're thinking, right, just stick everyone behind the ball now and hold out for the point. Don't do anything stupid. Don't give any silly mistakes away. Don't do anything that will jeopardise this and make this task more hard for us. Just stick 11 men behind the ball. Give the onus to West Ham and try and come away with a point. Literally about 2 minutes later, we give away another silly ball. Iwobi just stands and watches. They go up the other end. Antonio, I think it is, takes it, gets one-on-one with the keeper, takes it round him, squares it to Jared Bowen, and it's 2-1. And all of a sudden, from that height of, right, we've shown a bit of effort, we've shown a bit of desire, we've shown a reaction, we've got back in the game through a silly individual error and misconcentration, we are back to being 2-1 down, and we're back with another massive uphill task. And then we showed the reaction again. We were getting forward, we were trying to create chances, we were putting the ball in the right areas, we were pushing. There was almost that little bit of belief, that little bit of determination, that little bit of character that Frank Lampard is worried about, which is interesting because there was more character today than there was against Palace and Tottenham, and he didn't say those comments after those games. And then Michael Keane, captain Michael Keane, by the way, which is another absolute disaster, does what Michael Keane does and puts in another silly challenge, gets himself sent off, and then from that point on, that was very much I think the final nail in the coffin of those Everton players, motivations or desires or whatever. I think they all just sort of give up at that point. And for the final 15-20 minutes, the game very much played out. We didn't really create anything, they didn't really create anything, and they ultimately won the game in the end. And had this have been a clash between a West Ham team fighting for 4th and an Everton team fighting for, 8th or 7th or whatever, then I'd sit there and say, listen, it is what it is. We had a man sent off. We had, Donny van der Beek injured in the warm-up. We had Nathan Patterson injured yesterday when he was supposed to be starting. We've made an individual error, put it behind us and move on. But we can't really afford to be saying that. We can't really afford to be saying, well, it was positives and it wasn't too bad. We've lost another game of football. Remember when we all said, got 20 games to go, we'll be all right. Got 20 games to go, we'll be fine. We won't get relegated. We've got loads of games to go. We're 17th in the Premier League now with 10 games to go. And yes, we've got games in hand about around the teams that are above us, but we're 4 points above Burnley, who we play on Wednesday. We're only 3 points above Watford, who, again, I think were impressive against Liverpool the other day when I watched. So it just, again, I'm not really in the frame of mind to look at a performance like this, and I know I should be, and I know you've got to take positives out of situations like this, and positives about the fact that there was a better reaction in this, that and the other, but it wasn't enough. And again, we've lost a game of football on the basis that we've made silly mistakes. The second goal is so avoidable, so avoidable. The first goal's avoidable. We give away a silly free kick on the edge of the box, fine. A footballer who is very good at striking them steps up and scores a worldie. Sound, that happens sometimes in football. Very rarely does that happen, but it happens. You put that behind you, it can happen to anybody. The second goal is just, it's criminal considering the situation that we're in, that we allowed that to happen. It's absolutely criminal. And I look at these players and I look at this squad, and I don't know whether they're just incredibly thick or they just don't think, or they don't have concentration levels, but you won all. You just got back into the game. You're trying to get a point out the game. You're trying to come away with something, and you give away a goal like that. Another fine example of it, 15 minutes to go. 15 minutes to go, we're 2-1 down, we're pushing forward, we get a corner, throw the ball in. I think Don was still on at this point. You got Richarlison in there, a couple of big centre-halves in there, throw the ball in. I think it's Tamari Gray or Iwobi steps up to take it. Gray it is. Takes a short corner to Iwobi. Iwobi passes it back to Gray, who stood in an offside position. And all of a sudden, West Ham have had to defend the corner, done no defending, and Everton have given away a free kick with West Ham, and West Ham's defence barely having to move. That is just plain stupidity. And that is the football IQ of players that don't deserve to be playing in this league. We had a corner with 15 minutes to go, an opportunity to put pressure on them. The West Ham's defence had been stood there thinking, do you know what, we've got to watch this because this could end in a goal. And Gray gives it to Iwobi, stands in an offside position. Iwobi gives it to him back, situation gone. I mean, how fucking thick do you have to be? How thick do you have to be? And do you know what? If you were wanting to come here and see me screaming and shouting and angry, I'm not angry. Because what I've just done for the last 4 hours is sat on a coach full of Evertonians, and every single one of us, and I promise you this, and if there's anybody that was on the coach watching, you'll be able to second me. every single one of us, from the moment we sat down on that coach outside the London Stadium, forgot about that game of football. And I've genuinely just had to sit downstairs for 5 or 10 minutes before I started this video, reminding myself of what happened, because I just blanked it out my brain. Because I knew I'm either going to sit on this couch absolutely fuming for 4 hours about that game and continuously thinking about Michael Keane's mistakes or Iwobi's mistakes or John Joe Kenny or whatever, or I can just forget it even happened and just try and enjoy what is a decent day out, having a laugh, having a few drinks. I'd gone through a bottle of rosé wine at this point, so I was a little bit tipsy, and try and enjoy it. And I found myself before sitting there thinking, oh yeah, we actually played today. What happened? And what was this? What was that? Was the other? It's just, it absolutely kills me that this is our football club. It really, really does. It takes it out of me that this is our football club, that this is what we've become, that we're sitting here saying, oh, it wasn't that bad today, because we give a go for half an hour at the start of a game, or we reacted for 10 minutes when we conceded. We still conceded a goal that is criminal, absolutely criminal, the second goal. Absolutely criminal. We still make mistakes like playing short corners to players that are stood in offside positions and giving away the situation comfortably. Again, we can sit here all we like and have a go at Iwobi, and I've seen a couple of people on social media and Twitter and stuff having a go at Iwobi, and yes, he made a mistake for their second goal. Of course he did. Of course he made the mistake, and he was at fault for it, and he will take the flak with it. But the amount of people who I saw today giving Alex Iwobi stick when he was in an attacking position, and yet the amount of times I saw Alex Iwobi standing there with his hands by his sides as if to say, where's the movement? And the amount of times I saw Richarlison and Demarai Gray and Dominic Calvert-Lewin fucking concreted to the floor as if they weren't allowed to move was absolutely disgraceful. And I'll call them out, because they deserve to be called out. There was about 4 or 5 times where Richarlison didn't bother moving or making a run, and it's not good enough. Same with Demarai Gray, not good enough. With Dominic Calvert-Lewin, not good enough. I just almost think the players have given up. I think the players have almost conceded the fate of this season. I think the players have almost conceded that we'll lose every away game. And it's all well and good Frank Lampard coming out and talking about character and talking about, how he's worried about the character of the team. But you're the manager. How are you going to change that? What are you going to do to change that? Okay, you're worried about the character of the current players. Stop fucking playing them then. Stop playing them. It's clear that he's directing those comments towards certain players and not others, because he was praising Anthony Gordon and his efforts in desire literally 3-4 days ago. So it's clear that those comments are aimed at certain players. Well, don't play them. If it's aimed at the centre-halves, give Jared Branthwaite a go. If it's aimed at one of the midfielders, give Isaac Price a go. If it's aimed at one of the forwards, throw Lewis Dobbin in there. Why not? Why not? What have we got to lose? Throw Nathan Patterson in there when he's back fit, and I fully expect to see Nathan Patterson back in there when he's fit, because if he was going to start today, then he can start the next game he's fit for. It's just... Again, it's getting to that point now where I genuinely think that we only survive because of the performances of Burnley and Watford, in a sense that I don't think we stay up on Everton being good. I don't think we'll go through a period this season where we can sit back and go, remember when we won those 3-4 games on the bounce and we were great and we were picking up points left, right and centre and we were great. I don't think we'll have that. I don't. I think we'll be if we do manage to stay up, which, by the way, I said this the other day and I will say it again, would be a fucking miracle, an absolute miracle. I think we'll be sitting here saying, remember when we stayed up that season because Burnley were just so bad or Watford were just so bad. My biggest worry now, my biggest worry at the moment isn't even about Everton. At the minute, my biggest worry is about one of Burnley or Watford having a good run of games. I will be as invested in Burnley and Watford's games as I will be Everton's games from now on, because I've got no faith in Everton to get points in any games. I just haven't got any fucking faith in him. I really don't. My expectation every time I watch them gutless shower of shite players is that we will lose, because that's what they've drove us to. So now my hope this season is turned from Everton having a good run of form and putting a good run of results together, and that absolutely almost certain that won't happen. That my focus is now switched to Burnley and Watford not doing that and them losing every week. And that's where we're at. But how realistic is it that both of those two teams will just stay shit? Or how realistic is it that they might show? Because they've got more fight than Everton have. Their players have got more determination. They've got more effort. It might only take one Burnley win or Watford win for them to string a couple of good results together and get out of it, like Newcastle did, like Brentford are doing at the moment. I don't know. I really, really don't know. It's just another day, isn't it? It's another result. It was marginally better. It was slightly better, the performance. But yeah, it's just, it all rides on Tuesday now, doesn't it, I suppose? And as I said, for me, I think if we don't get anything out of that game, I think if Burnley beats us on Tuesday, I think it's done. I do. And it hurts me to say it, and it kills me to say it, and you can say we've still got 9 games left, Cam, anything can happen, but anything has been happening for the last 3 months, and it hasn't happened. Remember when Denise Barrett-Baxendale told us we'll have a good second half of the season? Remember when we had 20 games to go and everyone said we'll be alright? So I don't give a fuck if we've got 9 games, 3,200 games, or 1 game to go. I've got no confidence in this team doing anything in that period of time. So Wednesday is now, it's not even, the game's not even on Tuesday, so I don't even know why it's titled Tuesday. It's Wednesday, isn't it? Let me change that. Wednesday now is just absolutely monumental. I can't even begin to explain to you how important Wednesday is. Because it's just, yeah, it's scary. It's really, really scary how important of a game of football this is for both teams as well, though. For both teams, Burnley will be looking at this game thinking this is a good chance to get a win and drag Everton right into this, even though we're already right into it. I just don't know. As I said, it's all well and good for Lampard coming out and saying a character and this, that and the other, but how do you change that? How are you going to change that character? Yes, we showed a bit more today. We did show a bit more today, of course we did, but doesn't matter, does it? Because a bit more wasn't good enough. And let's be honest, we weren't playing Man City or Chelsea or Liverpool today. We were playing a team that, had we have shown a little bit of quality and an actual footballing brain, we could have got something out of that game. Yeah, I don't know. Look, we're going to leave it there then. Big thanks for watching. Sorry it's late, as I said, I've literally only just got home from the game myself. So, yeah, if you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like. We'll do the play ratings in a moment, but it will be very, very quick because I've been up for literally nearly 24 hours. And I'm absolutely shattered and I just want to go to bed, to be honest with you, and forget about them again. Because that's what I did. I forgot. And how sad is that? How sad is that? That and I don't know if anybody else feels like this, by the way, but I'm getting to that point now where it's sort of like, when we lose, it's just like do anything you can to forget about the game, to the point where I genuinely am forgetting about it. I'm sitting there thinking, what happened? You know, again, Ken says, and why wasn't Cresswell not giving it a red card when he deliberately kicked the ball into Richarlison's face? I'd absolutely phased that out of my brain. The most blatant red card you will ever see, by the way. Richarlison is lying on the floor, defenceless, and Aaron Cresswell volleys him in the face, and VAR says no, we won't look at that. It's just, again, listen, I'm not going to play the VAR corruption sort of angle now because I just don't think it really suits, but we all know we all know the level of these referees. Joe, I did go the game yet. We all know the incapability of them, and listen, would it be beyond the realms of possibility for the Premier League to want a big club to go down? Probably not, no. But yeah, it's a disgraceful decision, and they're a fucking embarrassment. If anyone from the Premier League's watching, you're a fucking embarrassment. Or the FA, you're a fucking embarrassment. You're a disgrace. An absolute fucking disgrace. Yeah. Everton could still lose, on to Burnley and still stay up. John, you're absolutely spot on, but it would require Everton putting a decent run of form together, and I just don't think we can do that. So, yeah, look, there you go then. We are going to finish it there. If you have enjoyed this one, please hit that like button. We will be back with the play ratings very shortly. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks for watching. Again, apologies that it's late. Yeah, leave a like if you've enjoyed, and we'll see you later. Nice one for watching. See you after.